I'm Indra, and I'd like to welcome you to the Messy Middle Matters, where my friends and I explore all the twists, turns, and challenges that arise in the messy middle of work. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Messy Middle Matters. Today is a super exciting day. One of the things that I've heard from many folks, especially women, is hearing the career paths and the journeys that people have gone through and how they got to where they landed. Like, was it a straight path? Was it twisty? Was it turny? Did it go through a few vineyards? A little teaser on this one about what we're going to be talking about today and the journey that we're going to get to learn about. So Anna, so nice. I'm so glad that I met you. I'm so glad that you're joining me. And welcome.
Gracias. Thank you. It's wonderful to be here, Indra. It really is.
Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
About myself, well, I'm a professional. I've been a professional in the space of food and wines from Spain for decades. And that took me from working for the Embassy of Spain in their trade office to creating my own boutique public relations and promotions agency, to writing a book, to working for the wine government of Rioja and authoring their business plan for their trade division for the U.S., to then creating my own platform, and now to creating a product-based business for curated special pieces from Rioja, that some which are in flight right now. So that's my specific journey.
Yeah. So, let's start at the beginning. How does someone wind up becoming the ambassador for a region of such beautiful, delicious wine? Like is that something that you wanted to do? Is it something that you happened upon? I would love to hear a little bit about that.
I think one of the big pieces that I always try to share, and I always found, but let your passion guide you, and then everything else can fall into place. And some of those big strides that we have to take professionally, they might not necessarily land exactly where we think we're going, but if you have these guiding forces of passion, authenticity, it really does take you to incredible places. And I see this with mentees that I've had or colleagues, and also with myself. I studied in Spain during the transition to democracy. And I think that's a topic globally we all can connect with on some level right now, right? And it was a very pulsating, moving time. And many of the people there were still remembered and lived through a very brutal but short-lived Spanish Civil War. So to really experience their feelings and their life and what they had, it was very moving for me. It was a captivating time to experience it. And that really energized me to be part of this privatizing a whole nation and really lifting a whole nation. And that was a driving force for me to pursue this passion, wanting to participate that in the latter part of the 20th century. And it's I think everything too, Indra, comes 360. We can have our paths, and it's a really beautiful thing to see how something that we might have experienced at a different period of our life, whether it be in our childhood or our teenage years or in adulthood or in childbearing years or what they may be, it does come 360, because that experience for me is now manifesting through incredible ceramic pieces of art that is from a ceramist who is part of this artistic movement of the transition to democracy in the latter part of the 20th century. So it's nice to see how this came full circle, decades later.
Yeah, I love the fact that Rioja is the through line to your story, right? It is, or it's one of the through lines to your story.
Yeah, it's a big one. It's definitely a big one, because when I started my career it was in Spain, there was cava, which are sparkling wines made in the same way as the champagnes or the Méthode Champenoise wines. And there were sherry wines, which are fortified wines from southern Spain. And there was Rioja. Many of these other delicious, fabulous regions that have emerged since the late 1980s just really weren't on the charts. So I've kind of grown up with Rioja, the region and I've kind of grown up together. So yeah, it's been a nice journey.
Yeah, and I had the pleasure. I had the pleasure of getting a preview of the trailer for Rioja Holistic Home, which we'll talk about and much more. But what the thing that I took away from it, like by the end of it, what was it, 3 minutes long that you had this teaser?
2:37. Yeah, 2:37. Yep. So that's good. That's very close. That's just about it.
My internal, metric is okay, but it was just so beautiful. And, just to paint the picture for everyone, it's a beautiful introduction to the Rioja region. It's a wonderful introduction to you, why you are as well versed in the region as you are, why you are so connected to the region that you are. And how, your history is about elevating the winemakers of the region. And now you're elevating all the craftspeople, not just the winemakers. And that is just, it's such a beautiful thing. And I cannot wait for the world to learn more about it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think when authenticity reigns, it just, anything that's authentic can't be fabricated. It can't be reproduced.
Yeah.
And that, I think it really is of heightened interest with a lot of what's happening now in many different parts of the world and many different industries. So that's really where we're rooted.
Yeah. And, how did you... We can go backwards and forwards in history as we're talking about the conversation. Like there's so many places that I want to go with you, but what was the seed of the idea for Rioja Holistic Home? Like, what was the moment where you're like, "Ooh, I want to explore something different," because we with everything that is going on in the world, so many people are contemplating, exploring, taking on new journeys, because the world as we understood it is definitely not the world that we're living in now, which opens up so many new possibilities. Like, what was your moment when you're like, "Ooh, I want to make a switch"?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. It really, in the wine business, really a lot of people that become a master sommelier or master of wine, they kind of work horizontally. So they have to study many, many different regions.
Okay.
And my book, The Wine Region of Rioja, was the first book by a U.S. publisher about the wine region. And when I began preparing for that work, I got my mastery certification from the Cervantes Institute, which is the Ministry of Education. And they have a satellite office here in New York. And I knew that to embark on the research for the book, there will be many people that I needed to get to that didn't necessarily speak English. And looking back again, during the era of fascism, it was prohibited to speak Catalan or Basque. Many of my colleagues went to underground schools, and English was not taught. So I went to get my mastery certification before really embarking on the book. So I wanted to make sure that my reading, my writing, my speaking, my listening comprehension was all as polished as it could be to embark on that work. And the work of the book took me deeper than I thought. I would really go, just interviewing scholars and growers and winemakers and artisans and everyone from, 80 years old to, 20 in their early 20s, and fifth generations of growers and artisans and historians. And it took me so deep into the region beyond the wine, because Rioja is predominantly an agricultural region, that I think really what planted the seed. It planted the seed because I realized that all of these people were obsessed by authenticity. They were all very proud custodians of their land. The stewardship of the land and of nature were all of their land is protected. 36% is protected under the Natura 2000, which is the largest conservation project in the world that the European
Wow.
Union is in charge of. And 36% for a small place is a large percentage of your land to be under
Yeah.
that protection. So all of this just really started to resonate, this thread of these common factors of authenticity, stewardship of the land, tremendous generational respect, and sharing, practices or traditions that their ancestors had. An unfaltering pursuit of quality, whether, it was just an innkeeper or a local restaurant or someone cultivating their pears. So all of it came together that it always brought me in to back to this place that, well, Rioja is more than wine. There's more here to enjoy, and some pieces that if somebody's crazy enough can cross the pond. So we're very excited. I mean, the artisans that I'm working with and the laboratory in Rioja to produce our 100% botanical blends, body oils one infused with lavender, the other with rosemary. They're very proud, and they're very devoted to what they do and the stories that can be shared. So Rioja was ready for this now. And I think it was really the book that really took me so deep that kind of opened this up.
Yeah, and I think I can infer it, but I would love to hear more about how you gain the trust of these craftspeople. Because if you're thinking about it, if I'm thinking about from the classic American perspective, that multi-generational craftsperson is not necessarily something that's so deep in our DNA as a nation, right? That
Yeah.
is something that is more prevalent in other parts of the world. And in my experience, when I've encountered craftspeople, they can be very protective of their work, of their craft, of their region, of their whatever, insert whatever word you want to put there. They can be very protective, and they can be distrustful of outsiders for fear of losing the thing that makes it so special. I mean,
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that can apply to so many different scenarios.
Yeah. I think respect and trust is earned. And I think for, speaking to especially women in careers at different points of careers where you might have had to pivot, or you might have been subject to a discriminatory act or a practice that perhaps was not ethical or wasn't fair or wasn't just. I think what you can control is your space and what you do. And that will stay with you forever. And I think that's really been a guiding force for me. I sat down and met with winemakers and growers and historians and scholars on my summer vacation. And, I had a full-time job, and I said, I will take on this job with the Rioja wine government, but I won't give up my book. I'll do it on weekends, early morning hours, late at night, or on vacation. So I think when they saw that here it is, this woman is not at the beach, she's here interviewing us, using her vacation time for this research, there's a certain level of reverence for that.
Yeah.
And the work that I did to really act as a conduit or a voice for all of them was something that was very noted. And with that, you earn respect.
That's so, thank you. Thank you. Because I don't know if enough of us know how to do that. So thank you for sharing a little bit about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I really believe that.
Yeah. And, as you've been navigating this, and I know a little bit more from the outside, definitely from the inside, from a very novice outside, the wine world can be very dominated by men. That's just the reality and the history of it.
Yes.
Um, can you speak a little bit about your experience there, and has that shifted? Has that changed as you're going into these realms with these other craftspeople? Because I'm not as familiar with some of these other crafts, whether it's ceramic or, wool or oils or whatever it
Yeah.
might be.
Well, the wine business is, when I started in the wine business, it was pretty much like being a male nurse. 30 years ago, maybe 5%. And that's really what it was. It was a very male-dominated industry, and that has changed very much today in terms of on the business side here in the United States. It's changed and it's shifted, and I think we're seeing a lot of female winemakers, especially in Europe, being highlighted, and that's part of why last year we created a Rioja Women's History Month initiative, because over 50% of the winemakers in Rioja are female, and most all of them are very awarded as well. And just some very top wine writers just came out with their reports, and some of these wines that scored so incredibly high were by female winemakers, and some of them very young too, which just makes you feel so proud and so wonderful. So that was a journey with the wine business. Traditionally in the wholesale channel, also in the retail channel, there's a lot of men. And moving into other industries right now, I think it's more diverse. We're moving into really tabletop consumer products. And Rioja Holistic Home, for me, very much is the intersection of my professional life and my personal life. I managed a big, busy home with many children in the home. There was a short period of time I had some orphans living in my home. And it was always, the kitchen was always the hub, and heightened awareness about, wellness and in the home and practices in the home to connect. Or to practice the values that were important for you were there. So Rioja Holistic Home is definitely about, not just about the pieces and the selections that we're bringing, but the ethos of Rioja as well that we're trying to bring into the home. If I have a piece, where does it come from? How was it made? Who was it made by? How can this help this protected personal time so we can connect? So we can be together, so we can enjoy this time. So that has a lot to do with it. I think we're subject to so much deceptive marketing here, Indra, in the United States, that I can only give an example of Europe that they are not. Like working with a laboratory in Spain that is adhering stringently to all the EU regulations just to do the packaging label that we're very proud of. It was just spectacular. It was designed by a designer here from Electric Collab, which was the branding studio that did all of our branding. That's out of Chicago. And, the designer had put the icon, animal cruelty free on the packaging. And then, the CEO of our laboratory said, we don't need this. This is prohibited in the EU. You would be closed in one day. Yes. You would be closed in one day if you even considered, testing on animals. So in terms of our food products and wine and what is allowed to go in things that we put on our body or that we consume, the laws are, very, very different. So I think in the United States, there really is right now, or at least the organizations I'm affiliating with, this heightened awareness about, what we have, where it comes from, what we're sharing in our homes, and the implications that it can have on us, our children, our loved ones, our friends, our families. So this raising consciousness is a big part of Rioja Holistic Home too.
There's something so beautiful and so intentional, because I think that our world is moving, at least it feels like it to me. The world is moving so quickly. And when I encounter you, when we talk about everything that you're doing, there's this instant, like, I feel the need and the desire to maybe like take a deep breath and slow down, which I think that our bodies really respond, at least my body responds really well to. It's just like, let me relax into this. I don't need to be at an 11 all the time. I might need that for my job. I might need that to navigate a subway or a highway or whatever, or whatever you need to do to get through life. But that opportunity to go home and pause and have that intentional moment and the encouragement you're providing to so many of us. I'm so grateful.
Yeah, it's really important. It's really valuable. I think the overall wellness and all of these components that come together can really benefit us in many, many different ways. And even with the even with our textiles, which are just so fabulous, our extra fine merino wool textiles, it's just, we don't want to sell you 10 blankets. We want to sell you one heirloom baby blanket that your children and your grandchildren thereafter can enjoy. And even just going to the photo shoots with a photographer, the way they just, the natural biodegradable fabric just drapes itself, Indra. I can't even say how beautiful it is. It was just really, really spectacular. Even the photographer was like, he thought it was like something you'd had to be folding, steaming. The photographers do have all these tricks.
They have all their tricks. Yes.
Yeah. And I thought I learned a lot being on a product photography photo shoot for 14 hours. And it was just, he's like, this doesn't need any of this. It doesn't need, the steaming. It doesn't need all the boards behind it and underneath it and in it. And it was really, really, really wonderful. So it's I think what we're going to be seeing from a lot of people is this, this shift. It's a shift. We live in a turbo capitalist society, and it's one built on convenience and this throwaway culture that now everyone is starting to question. And this, even making gentle shifts is a start. Nobody can go from 0 to 100 in one day. But when we have this consciousness, and it starts, it's really beautiful. I even saw it myself as, working full time in this work, just starting to be so much more label conscious about textiles or about food labels or researching out, what is the natural, component. And then if you add something onto it, then it becomes synthetic, So we have a lot of deceptive labeling and everything.
Interesting. Yeah, I know. And I'm just imagining myself in my journey. Like it's not always easy. You can't do it all the time, but when you can do it, like I treasure that moment when I'm able to take a pause and really have that really big reflection. And I, for one, cannot wait because that merino is one of my favorite types of fibers. Like I will seek that stuff out. I prefer it over cashmere. So I just think it's so beautiful. It's got it's so soft, it's so beautiful, and it's more resilient than a cashmere,
Yes,
which I
it is.
appreciate.
Yeah, it is. And the history of the breed in Spain is just really quite beautiful, and it intersects in wine country, in a very, very significant way in Rioja.
Yeah, and you're in the messy middle of launching this.
Yeah,
right?
Yes, I'm in the very messy middle. I've got product tags on my desk, and body oil vessels, and my head going about wine affiliate programs that can be done because wine is sensorial. It's sensorial experience. And a lot of these pieces are also sensorial, just even mentioning merino, the look of it. And you just said the feel of it. I love merino, but the feel of it. So, it's a messy middle time, but you just keep going, you just stay in it and you keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're highlighting something really important. No matter, like, you're clear on what your North Star is. You're clear on what your objective is, and keeping that in mind as the twists and turns happen. Like, is there one twist or turn that was more unexpected than the others? Because I mean, and how did you cope with that twist or turn?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. That's a really beautiful question. I think having patience with there's certain answers that you want quicker than the system will allow them, and you have to exercise patience. Be in a space to learn, ask questions. I've never really I have one of the most important relationships I have right now is with my DHL account representative. And he's headquartered in Arizona. All of his accounts are East Coast people. He's bilingual, which is wonderful because some of my workrooms do not speak English.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of communication both of us have to have, between cargo and measurements and size and packaging. And he's just been really wonderful. I'm doing like a team launch announcement and I have him in it, because he's just been so pivotal. And DHL has been very good to work with. Very, very good to work with so far.
Can I
Great
tell you,
experience.
logistics is something that I have high respect for. I don't have that skill or that aptitude. But they do so much invisible work and so
Yes.
much. I can just imagine them dealing with like literally the logistics, the tariffs, like all the different things that need to deal with it. And the fact that you found somebody and the fact that you're celebrating them, like, can I give you like that? That's huge because all too many people, again, in American society, we're supposed to be this person who does it all by themselves, like all these, these heroics. But you're doing it. You're demonstrating community for a product that's created, or for products that are created by community to help to encourage further community, whether it's with the things that people are acquiring or how they're sharing them with others. My hat goes off to you. My hat goes off to you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really it takes a community. It
Yeah.
takes a whole team, and all of the parts make the whole. And I guess that's a big part of the messy middle.
Yeah.
Like the messy middle can be so pivotal for the end, Indra. Like, and you probably know that better than me because you selected that as the name of your podcast, right? But the messy middle is, wow, it's so pivotal to what the end, what the end really can be or not be. And especially with a product launch, because it's almost like it's such a domino. I see it so much more than in a service-based career, but this is so much, X and Y and Z, they
Yeah.
all kind of hang on each other and they thread through to the finish line. But
Yeah, and the fact that you highlighted patience too, I think is really important in a land of AI. Like whenever I use ChatGPT regularly, and what
mm-hmm.
it often every once in a while there'll be the push to go to premium and the paid model. And I have this conversation with my ChatGPT saying, should I pay? Is it worth it for me to pay for it? I get very meta on these things.
Yeah.
And one of the things that it says, well, it will offer you answers more quickly. I'm like, I actually kind of like exercising my patience muscle. It's okay, right? Because
because you're thinking with your AI tool. I'm using a few different AI tools right now, and that's really where we can embrace it. If your AI tool is working with you, and that's a good, that's
it's a good
positive usage.
thing, but we need to remember to slow down back to human pace again.
Right. And I think, one of my favorite wines in Rioja are the Gran Reservas, the red Gran Reservas, because there's no other wine region in the world that has the same rigor from vineyard through bottling to make Gran Reservas. And they are released at their earliest in their 7th year.
Really?
So that's the antithesis of an American winemaking mindset, that you bottle and you release and you get to market and you go to market. And even in one of the descriptions for one of the pieces, I kind of made reference to a Rioja Gran Reserva. It's a slow pace where you sit, and one of the greatest female winemakers in Rioja right now, Maria Vargas from Marqués de Morietas, said, there comes a time when you have to step back at the winemaker and you just let the wine evolve. You've done your job and you step back. And that is part of the patience. This patience is a piece that has to have its role.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I'm very conscious of time. I'm very respectful of your time. I am grateful that you've joined me. Is there anything that you want to highlight or share? I know that I'll be making sure that I'm sharing through all of our channels and everything when things start to launch. So if people are curious and want to explore what's available, definitely be doing that. And we'll make sure that that I include all the appropriate links in our show notes. But is there anything else that you'd like to share or with everyone before we start to wrap?
Well, I think it's well, thank you so much for having us, Indra. This
No, it's my
Rioja
pleasure.
Holistic Home, our shop should open probably by the end of March or early April, and it's I wrote to Rioja, the wine region of Rioja books. So my approach to everything is always to educate, to support, everything on my Instagram channel right now is Ana Fabiano Rioja. And if you can visit me there, and everything there's nothing paid. It's all just information or wines or facts about Rioja that I share from a place of just knowledge and ambassadorship. Really, nothing is paid there. And Rioja Holistic Home will be launched by April of 2026. So there will be a lot of interesting pieces there to learn about. Just really encourage a different value system, a different approach, different thinking through these pieces, and through they're all exquisite. They're all really, really exquisite, and they're ones designed to really enrich the well-being and the health of the home, and to really start there, because everything is holistic, right? We look at it, our bodies are holistic. It's a circular way of movement versus, linear and throwing away. And I think this grassroots movement is happening now, and there has to be some optimism around
Yes.
that it really is happening, and that can make a big difference.
What a beautiful way to end things. If I may ask, would you be up for giving us a closing toast? How would people in Rioja say cheers to everyone?
They would say, I'm drinking this beautiful white actually right now. It's just because the end of the day, and then I'll take a break and I'll go back and work tonight. But it's a Gomez Cruzado white wine. That's a Centenary winery. So I have it right here, the bottle. It's a Centenary winery, and it's available throughout the United States. And it's a blend of 3 of our grape varieties. But they would say chin chin.
Chin chin.
Chin chin, and then click glasses with
I
chin
have a mug.
chin.
I don't have a wine glass, but chin chin.
Yeah. Chin chin.
Thank you. I know that anyone who's listened to this episode has gotten something beautiful out of it. Hopefully they took as many deep breaths as I did as you're painting this beautiful picture of what you've done and what's to come. And I hope everyone will join us next time for another topic from the Messy Middle. Chin chin. Thanks for taking time with us in the Messy Middle. Word of mouth remains the most powerful way for people to find us. If this episode sparked something for you, we'd love it if you'd subscribe to the podcast on your favorite app, download a few episodes, and share it with someone else who's navigating the in-between. Do you have ideas for future episodes or topics you'd like us to explore? You can find our feedback form at themessymiddlematters.com or in the show notes. Thank you for joining us on this journey. This work is better when we do it together. Until next time.